Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Got a great show today, folks. Jessica Freeberg will be in with Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals in just a bit. But first, we have a great show today with our guest, Mike Gatto. We're talking today about an unusual situation. Mike Gatto, former California legislator, lawyer, and unfortunately, a murder victim survivor. I know that's kind of an unusual phrase. It'll be 13 years now in November where Mike lost his father in an unfortunate incident. We'll get to that. He has a book out there called Noir By Necessity. We'll have a link in the description of this program. I want to introduce you to Mike, and we'll bring him in here. Mike Gatto represented Hollywood and surrounding areas for 7 years in the California legislature. Before being elected, he served as a congressional chief of staff and in the administrations of 3 Los Angeles mayors. He's the managing partner of Actium LLP, a law firm, and is a fixture in the media and a commentator on national news talk shows. He lives in the Los Angeles area with his wife and 3 children. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome in for the first time to True Crime Tuesday, Mike Gatto. Mike, thank you so much for being here.
Tim, thank you so much for having me.
I say murder victim survivor. I don't know that you ever survived this, do you?
Right. It's the terms are very strange. I know some people prefer the term survivor. Some people, I just say, my dad got murdered, and that I'm a representative for families of murdered victims or murdered people.
Okay. Fair enough. I struggle with what to call you too. I had to come up with something that's about the best I could do, and I apologize even for that.
Look, I understand.
As I read the book, I developed such an affinity for your dad. I really did. Yeah. He has such a story. Can you tell us a little bit about your dad, Joe? Before we
Sure. So my dad was, what viewers have to understand is my dad was sort of the last Renaissance man. He was born during the Great Depression. He was born into tremendous poverty. His father was a coal miner. To hear my dad talk about it, he would make $40 a month during the Depression, and he'd drink 35 of it. My grandfather too had a very tough life. My father had rickets when he was a boy from malnutrition, but he really worked hard to become something. He's the first in our family to go to college. He got a degree, after lettering in 4 sports in high school and part of college. He got a degree and he became a teacher. He became a school teacher. He had gotten out of the military, was looking for something to do, and became a school teacher. And he ended up founding a school in Los Angeles for kids who had, maybe been kicked out of their normal school or just didn't really fit in their normal school. It was a school for people who wanted to go in the arts, everything from design, people who design cars, to people who wanted to become singers and actors. And that's really what he's best known for. But what I can tell you about my dad is that he was somebody who was equally comfortable with, taking apart a Chevy engine with me and discussing the merits of a painting with somebody else. I mean, he was just such a unique character.
What I loved about him was not only did it seem like he had the practical side of him, which it seems like most old world people have, but he also had the artistic side of him and the sensitive side of him. And I don't think that there's a lot of males that have that sensitive side to him. And it seemed like he got even more sensitive as you had your own children. And
so true.
He really connected with your children in the short time that he had with them. And I think that's so incredibly special. And I wish he would have had more time. That's the sad part of this whole thing. I wish he would have had more time with your children.
I do too. And that's what I try to convey in the book. The book is written from the perspective of this is exactly how I learned everything from the first phone call to every single clue. In order. There's no forecasting, there's no, and gee, this, that, it's just every little thing, just the facts in order. But that is something that I also wanted to convey to people because most murder victims don't have a platform. I'm very grateful to have a platform. I'm grateful to have a Twitter follow. I'm grateful to be on this podcast. I wanted people to understand what it's like when a family member is murdered. Obviously, what it took away in my family's case is my father was a very good father. He was an excellent grandfather. He was like, and my kids lost that. My oldest got to know him a little bit. My youngest, very little. I'm sorry, my middle, very little. And then my youngest, not at all. My son was born after he died.
Tell us a little bit about your youngest before we jump into what happened that fateful night. Your youngest is actually named after your father, correct?
Yeah, he is. He is. My son is named after my father. They look so different, right? My son looks like the prototypical California surfer. He's got a long hair of like wavy blonde hair. But he is just like my dad. It's weird. It's like, he never met him. We never told too many stories of him when he was a little kid. But my dad used to like wake up in the morning and like grab a tomato off the counter and like eat it like an apple. And when I saw like my 4-year-old boy doing that, it was like the most surreal thing because I don't do that. Mm-hmm. Right. And my boy was just, there's so many things about him that are so similar to his grandfather, and he never met him and he looks nothing like him. But they're both very physical. Like my son loves playing football, but he also like loves tending to the fruit trees outside and like picking plums and things like that. And that's my dad, right? And so it's really been amazing for him to have not just his name, but also a little bit of his personality.
You know what hit me, Mike, and forgive me when I say this, that as I'm reading the book and as I'm and you call him Jack, right? That's his.
Yeah, we call him Jack. We have so in my family we have a lot. It's an Italian family. We have a lot of Joes, Josephs, Joeys, Joe Bud, Joe this. And so my son just got called Jack. It just sort of stuck.
So as I'm reading about Jack and as you're describing Jack and his mannerisms, and
right.
And the way he's so much like your father, it hits me between the eyes. And I guess I need to ask you this. Do you believe in reincarnation? Do you believe in the fact that souls could come back to you?
I don't know about that. I definitely believe in the eternity of souls. And I believe that there is something out there when somebody goes on to the afterlife that is still present. And that can be something with their consciousness. It could be what we call their soul. I don't know what it is with my son, though. I think maybe there's definitely a part of his purpose in life, which I think is to make me understand my father better when my father was gone, mm-hmm. or now that my father is gone. And yeah, just, something about the carrying on of traditions, even when there was no, personal contact while my father was alive. It's just amazing.
It is, because it feels like that relationship is meant to continue. It's meant to continue on in him, right? And meant to continue forward. So I think it's kind of cool that you're going to get to continue that relationship still with him, right?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely. With that, let's before we go to break yet in this segment, let's talk about that fateful night with your father and what exactly had happened that night that led to his murder.
So I had flown up to Sacramento. People don't understand California. Our capital is Sacramento. It's not Los Angeles. It's not San Francisco. It's not Santa Barbara. It's Sacramento. And I had flown up to Sacramento to do some stuff at the Capitol on the day before. And I got a call. I was at my Sacramento house. We were just about to put our daughters to bed. And my cell phone rang. And it was my younger sister. We talked a lot, but she never really called me at like 7:45 on a Tuesday night. And so I picked it up. I usually screen my calls, but I picked it up. Maybe she called twice or something, but I picked it up. And she was just beside herself. I mean, I really didn't understand what she was saying at first, but the basic gist was, I went over to Dad's house and blah, 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 and he's dead. And I was like, wait a second, Dad's in the peak of health. My father, you have to understand, he was 79 at the time of his death. But he was somebody who sprinted upstairs, went on bike rides with me, deadlifted trees, deadlifted refrigerators. I mean, he was a beast of a man. I mean, giant hands, just peak of health, no health problems. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, come on. Like, he's sleeping or something, And she's like, no. I touched him. He's cold. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. So I initially thought it was something weird, like a sudden heart attack. But eventually the paramedics, I told her to call the paramedics. The paramedics came, the police came. I don't remember who, if it was her, the paramedics, the police, or one of my friends who went to the scene. But at some point, about an hour later, someone said, your father's dead, and the cause of death is a gunshot wound. And, apparently the gunshot wound had entered in his abdomen, lodged in his leg, and he bled out internally. There wasn't much blood at the crime scene. So, it was very, very hard, and it was just incredibly difficult to fathom that this could have happened.
That's insane. Now, one of the things I don't know that I picked up from reading the book, but I kind of got the feeling of is that you took this case kind of by the reins and throughout the years. Now I mentioned at the beginning of the program, it'll be 13 years this November, correct? It was 2013 that he was slain, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You took everything by the reins. You're estranged from both sisters, correct?
Yeah. Unfortunately, none of my father's children, myself, two sisters, are on speaking terms right now. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that my father died, and his will, his estate plan, was very outdated, and it was a mess. And like so many families, we fell prey to the squabbling that occurs over money. And I thought it was really awful. And at some point, most of my family just stopped speaking with my sisters. There was a perception that there was just too much squabbling.
Okay. I have to ask you this, Mike. At any time, I believe Nicole is one of your sisters. You have another sister.
Yeah.
At any time, do they want to jump in and participate? I don't get that feeling from reading your book that they want to take. It seems like they want to take active participation in splitting up his estate, but there's no active participation in wanting to find his killer.
Yeah, it's hard to know, right? Because obviously, at some point, I just for my own sanity and for the sanity of my nuclear family and my mom and my cousins, we just sort of withdrew, and we tried not to have as many contacts as we had been having. But I don't know what they were doing. I know it wasn't quite as intense as what I was doing, which probably wasn't healthy either. For probably 2 years after my dad's murder, it was an obsession for me. I mean, I was like gathering every possible clue I could, interviewing the neighbors, doing all the things that in a big city, the police department doesn't do. But yeah, it would seem like, I mean, I believe that the most important thing is for members of the family and for the public to keep the feet of the police to the flame, right? Hold a candle to them and just say, hey, we've got too many unsolved murders. It doesn't matter who it is. But if it's your family member, like, you got to be curious, right? And so I welcome all the support from anybody who wants to ask the LAPD about his murder.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you've got the situation. Obviously, as you go to lay your father to rest, you have plenty of support from not only your colleagues in the legislature, but from the governor, from plenty of people within California that your constituents from. In fact, I think you said at the funeral you had 1,000 people that showed.
1,200 people in a church that holds about 300.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Although there were some people that obviously tried to take advantage of that situation at the time, and that's heart-wrenching as well. Can you talk to that a little bit? Whoop, we froze.
Yeah, and a part of me wonders how common it is with. Hello?
Yeah. Oh, we froze there for a second. Sorry about that, Mike.
Okay. Are we back?
Yeah, we're back. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Can you speak to that for a little bit?
So one of the things that was so surreal in my father's case was the number of, I guess, cranks that came out of the woodwork with it. This was everything from, a celebrity. There was a minor celebrity who had actually starred on several soap operas who called me and tried to advance this very, very wild theory about my father's death that was so complicated. And it just seemed like at some point I concluded that she wanted attention and maybe was suffering through some sort of mental illness. There were other members of the community who thought that because my father's case was very high profile, that they could use it to clear any criminal issues that they had in their neighborhood. I gave the examples of my book of a woman who I knew fairly well, who called me and claimed that there was somebody who looked like the composite sketch that was initially circulated as one of my possibilities for my father's killer. And she called me and said, gee, this person's in front of the house. And it turns out that she just wanted to clear a homeless encampment in front of her house. I mean, it was really surreal how many different theories came from the public out of the woodwork that just, in many cases ended up just being something that they selfishly wanted to pursue.
Not good. I tell you what, Mike, let's take our break here. When we come back, I want to get into the specifics of that night. I want to get into suspects and whether there's a distinct lack of them. I want to talk about that composite sketch when we get back and whether a suspect actually fits that sketch or not. And then I want to talk a little bit about where we're at today, to this very day, because as it stands right now, it's a cold case, correct?
It's a cold case, but it's something that I try to keep alive as much as I can.
Okay. And we'll talk about all that when we come back and try to figure out what we can do to help through this program, if we can provide any help at all, if there's something that our audience can do as well. Mike Gatto is our guest. Name of the book is Noir by Necessity, How My Father's Unsolved Murder Took Me to Dark Places. We have a link in the description of this program. And folks, I encourage you again, if Mike's got any links or anything we can provide here through the program, we'll do that in the description of this program so that you can help. And please, no cranks, nothing that would set things aside. If you have some actual information from Mike, that'd be greatly appreciated. This took place in the Silver Lake area of Los Angeles, correct?
Correct. The Silver Lake neighborhood of Los Angeles. It was the only murder in that neighborhood for all of 2013.
Okay. So just so we're aware. Okay. Folks, before we go to break, let me tell you a little bit about our sponsor, Jelly Bean and Julia's, and their specials for this week. For the rest of the week, they include happy hour, 25% off all appetizers, excluding their appetizer sampler, half price off all single pour well drinks, and half price off all Mick Golden Light, Coors Light taps, half price off domestic cans and bottles as well. On Friday, of course, that smoked prime rib dinner that we tell you all about. It's an amazing dinner. Of course, that smoked prime rib is smoked overnight in that walk-in smoker. You've got your 12 and your 16-ounce cuts. It's served at 4:30 p.m. until it is out. And let me tell you something, folks. Get there early because it will run out. You've got the tequila berry salad with that sweet and tangy dressing, the bacon bits, and much, much more. You've got the Boston baked potato. Oh, folks, if you've never had a Boston baked potato, this one is great. It is actually deep fried in an avocado type oil, not the hydrogenated fats, but the avocado oil, which is amazing. And then, of course, you've got the Texas toast that comes along with it. It's all priced so nominally, you will not believe the price on this cut of smoked prime rib. I'm telling you, Mike, it is a once-in-a-lifetime meal. You wouldn't believe it. And then, of course, you've got breakfast on Sundays and much, much more. Jelly Bean and Julia. Check it out. jellybeanandjulias.com. Our sponsor today, Jelly Bean and Julia's over in Coon Rapids. Check it out this week. All right. When we come back, more with Mike Gatto, our guest. And again, the name of the book is Noir by Necessity, How My Father's Unsolved Murder Took Me to Dark Places. When we come back right here on the best in true crime podcasting, this is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. My guest is Mike Gatto. The name of the book, Noir by Necessity, How My Father's Unsolved Murder Took Me to Dark Places. Mike, before the break, I wanted to get a little bit, I'd said I wanted to get a little bit further into the actual crime scene. I know it's a little bit painful, so we won't try to get too deep into it, but I want to talk a little bit about possible motive. Your father, we talked about, he was quite artistic. He had been working with a certain type of jewelry and icons. Can you tell us what icons are?
Sure. So the initial theory that went in the media, courtesy of a neighbor, is that my father was killed by the Russian mob because he had an extensive collection of what are called Russian icons. They're actually Byzantine icons, Greek icons. These are basically paintings that depict a saint that are made they were made on a piece of wood about 400 years ago. They're still made, but but the really valuable ones were made with a mixture of painting and also hammered gold and silver to depict saints' lives. And my father had an extensive collection, and there had been something publicized that said he's going to be showing up with his extensive collection at this location. It was like the day after he was murdered. And so a neighbor speculated that that had something to do with it. I should stress that that theory was very quickly disposed of. My father, these were not Van Goghs, right? I mean, they weren't worth like 25 million. They were worth like $10,000, $5,000, still valuable, but not crazy valuable. And then the other thing is whoever killed my father walked right by several of them. He had several on his wall and they were not taken. So that theory just doesn't pan out from my perspective.
Okay. There were, however, jewelry envelopes that were strewn all about, correct?
Yeah, we do believe that the person who killed my father either took some of his jewelry or made a show of trying to take some of his jewelry. I should again say my father was a craft jeweler. He did not make, $20,000 wedding rings. This wasn't platinum and diamond. This was like silver and like wood and like a little bit of gold and like, something from ancient Egypt. I mean, he made craft jewelry with historical items that he sold for hundreds of dollars. Very rarely a piece would go for over $1,000, but he was getting there. He was of some renown. But again, it just doesn't strike me like this would be the motivation for somebody because, when all is said and done, you probably would get more holding up a guy taking his girlfriend on a date to a movie theater who's got cash in his pocket. It just strikes me as kind of an odd theory. Unless it was opportunistic or unless the crime scene was staged. And I should also note that none of my father's pieces have shown up. It's not like they've shown up at pawn shops or any place like that. Pawn shops have to report certain things like this, and my father's jewelry is registered by the police. So I don't really give that much credibility to that either.
Okay. They took the cash out of his wallet, but didn't take credit cards, which is odd, right?
Yes. Whoever was there, dropped his wallet on the floor and took some cash. We don't know how much.
Okay. And then they also attempted to try to break into the safe, correct? But they did it in an odd way?
Yes. So this part is the strangest part of my father's murder is that he had a couple safes in his house. When I was a kid, they were always in the garage, and I just kind of always assumed they were in the garage, but apparently he had moved them up into his third floor bedroom. These were not like little tiny hotel room safes. These were those old like Wells Fargo Western movie safes where they're about 4 or 5 feet tall with the walls that are this thick that, are designed to withstand a 10,000 degree fire for 4 hours. Right. Mm-hmm. And somebody had either been so stupid, so high on drugs, or again, staged the crime scene where they made a show of trying to break into these safes with a pair of garden shears. So I want to stress how weird that is to me. When you touch one of these safes, like even if you just knock on the wall, like you can immediately sense that it's like, it's like this thick and it's the hardest thing you've ever felt, right? And you're obviously not going to get into a safe with a pair of, $20 Home Depot garden shears. You probably wouldn't even get in with a blowtorch. So again, someone very stupid, someone high on drugs, or somebody trying to make it look like they were after something in those safes.
Now there's, to me, as I'm reading along, the different entry points, there's something interesting about the entry points in this case too. You talk about at one point as cops were trying to figure out how this person got in. There's a lot of discombobulation as to who the suspect could be, what their motive was. At one point, they say it could have been a car robber who's robbing at very twilight daylight into the early evening, which seems like an odd time of day to be robbing a car. I don't know. I don't rob cars in daylight if I'm a car robber. I know that much.
Right.
And then the way they got in is like slipping under your father's garage door as it's closing. Is that the right?
Well, so I'm going to talk a lot about the composite sketch of the car the car burglar, but I also want to talk about what you're alluding to, which is there was no signs of forced entry at my father's house.
Yeah.
So I want to repeat that. Usually, it's very clear. There's a sliding glass door where a pane was jimmied out and someone reached around and grabbed the handle. It's very obvious and it's still open when the police get there. Nothing. In my father's case, no doors were unlocked, no windows were open, no glass was broken, no signs of forced entry. So the police theorized that at some point my dad had closed the garage door and the thief had ducked in, right? That's their theory. I want to talk a little bit about this other theory that came to dominate the first couple of years of the case. There was a local mother who stepped forward after my father was killed. She actually didn't step forward. She sent an email around the neighborhood, which got sent to the press. The email said, I was coming home with my son from karate. It was roughly dusk. And there was a car burglar, breaking into car windows to steal stuff out of cars, maybe 4 or 5 blocks from my dad's house. The strange thing is, again, what you alluded to, this person's breaking into cars, like right at the time that people come home from work. Yeah. Right? Just bizarre. People are either home for dinner and they're sitting, on their front window, looking out at the street, or they're driving home and they're coming home from extracurriculars, or they're coming home, from work. Totally bizarre. The other thing is her son thought that they saw this guy have a gun. Also bizarre. If you've got a gun, chances are you're not breaking into cars. If you bring that gun to just break a car window, it turns a misdemeanor into a felony, for one thing. Yep. Secondly, if you have a gun, you're just holding somebody up. And if you're desperate for a fix, you're going to sell the gun for $50 rather than, right? So a lot of things didn't make sense from the outset, but without getting way too complicated, the police's theory is that this woman gave chase with a male neighbor, that the guy went down this a street that people can walk down, but cars can't drive down. And then because he's right-handed, he turned right because he thought he was being chased. And then he turned down my dad's street, which he thought was an alley. And right at that moment in time, there was a tour helicopter taking tourists to the Hollywood sign, which my father's house was in the flight path. And he thought it was a police helicopter. And right at that time, my dad had bought a printer from Costco and he couldn't get it out of the hatchback of his car. So he had to open up the side door. So he had to open up his garage door to get it out of his car. We do know that he went to Costco that evening. Mm-hmm. But he was walking the printer in and he pressed the garage door button and the garage door came down and the guy ducked in without my dad seeing it. And gets even better. There were 3 cars in my dad's driveway and garage. Lights on in his house. Obviously, it's dark and he's setting up a printer. This thief sat in my dad's garage, for this timeline to make sense, for an hour. Didn't take anything, didn't just press the button and walk out, didn't steal my dad's tools, his jewelry making equipment, a car radio, nothing. But at some point decided to walk up to the 3rd floor of an obviously inhabited house where he has no idea who's home, family of 5, a bunch of brothers, cousins, uncles, whatever, and just shoot my dad. It does not make sense.
Right.
There's something wrong there. I don't know what it is. It's either the timeline or the details, but something doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and there's something I think I'll leave for the book that it just sets off my spidey sense. It really does. And you hate to say inside job, but it feels like an inside job. It really does. And I know that you, again, I'll leave a lot of details for the book, but it seems like you have a good team on it now. That's
we do.
Looking into
we do, and I'm always careful what I say, mm-hmm. because I never want to come forward and say, of the 5 or whatever 4 possible theories, it's this person, because if I say that, and then I end up being wrong. I have some degree of humility, even though I'm a former politician. If I end up being wrong and then the other person is arrested, the first thing the defense lawyer will do is hold up my book and say, his own son, who he was very close with, thought it was this person. Yeah. Reasonable doubt, right? And that's often enough to make a jury think that. Right. So what I try to do in the book is just, here are the clues. Yep. Let the reader decide. Here's everything that I know. And here's all the facts. Now, I'm going over facts with you. The facts are no forced entry. Yeah. Bizarre list of things stolen. The thief walked right by, or whoever was in my dad's house walked right by one of his own gold rings, right? Which I think is bizarre. Very little stuff taken from the house. You know, yeah, and then this weird thing with the safes. So it just something is just kind of weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, my spidey sense goes off, and it's just doesn't sound right.
There is also some, you know, people who read the book will also have this question, and we should bring it up. And it has to do with the DNA in the case.
Yeah.
There was just a tiny amount of DNA that was left behind. What is it about 13 years ago versus now with touch DNA, which touch DNA is such a hot button topic that they can take such a minute amount of DNA, be able to trace it. And even with familial DNA or whatever DNA you're using, they should be able to trace it right back to somebody to be able to trace down who this is. Why is it that even that minute amount of DNA, even back then, was unable to be traced to anybody?
There are so many problems with the DNA in my case. Or my father's case. First of all, it was leaked that they had the DNA. It was not something that the police initially revealed to the public. It was sort of leaked out, and then they've answered a series of questions over the years. The DNA was epithelial DNA, touch DNA. It was a minute quantity. And when we're trying to explain how minute it is, my understanding is that they divide the sample up on a very tiny microscopic level, and some is preserved for the defense, some is preserved for, or some is used for the FBI CODIS database, and then there's another little teeny tiny bit that they can use for other stuff. They believe my dad fought back. They searched his fingernails for DNA, which is often where you find the perpetrator's DNA. There is nothing. They have retested some of the things that they believe that the person touched. They have not found any additional DNA. The sample size was so small, from what they've told me, that like when we get Neanderthal DNA from a cave, that's like, 60,000 years old, those samples are often bigger. And so the result is that there are fragments, there are holes in the barcode, if you will. And so, and they also told me recently that there's not one, but there's two unidentified DNA in the house, which I think would also go to a theory that there could have been two perpetrators. But the challenge, right, is that they're trying to match this profile with all these holes in it to whatever's out there. And it's very hard because, it's like if you had your DNA and you started chopping it up into holes, it would become very hard to tell who is your brother and sister, mother and father. It would be more likely that it looked like you had a whole bunch of cousins. And that's the challenge that they face. They're working on it, but I mean, it has been 13 years, right? And that is what just absolutely kills me. It's just so hard because you keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Now, obviously, the CODIS loci are so small and it's such a broad database, but that's another thing that's weird in my dad's case. It's been 13 years and this person or persons have not reoffended, have not ever been arrested for a felony arrest, nowhere in the United States where they take DNA. And on top of that, no male relative has, because we have familial DNA, which tests the male relatives. And so it's just, for me, it's weird. It's almost like if you imported a hitman, this would be the scenario that you have, right? But, that doesn't comport with the evidence either. So it's just hard to know.
It's confusing. I know that much. Again, the fact that you don't have a reoffender, it's not a serial offender, it's not somebody who's in the system, that really, really reeks of someone who either made a mistake or, you know what I mean here, Mike?
Yes, I do. Yeah. It's like, you could almost imagine somebody going over there with muscle, and the muscle was, gosh knows who, or some sort of, hired somebody who's not in this. I don't know. It is just very, very, very strange.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
It's incredibly strange.
Especially, one last note on that, especially because with respect to the crime scene and all the weird details, and I go into more of them in the book, but you either have a criminal who's very stupid and very reckless or very high on drugs, or you have the alternative, which is somebody planned this very well and every little thing was taken care of and it was staged. It's hard to see something in between, But the problem is, if you had somebody who was stupid, so stupid enough that they're trying to break into a safe with a garden shears, and so random that they were breaking into cars in broad daylight, and then they graduate to murder that night. This is the type of person who talks. This is the type of person who gets into a fight at a bowling alley and says, I'm tough, I killed somebody. This is the type of person whose girlfriend breaks up with him and says, oh yeah, Johnny bragged to me in bed that he killed somebody. This is the type of person who reoffends, who, gets caught carjacking somebody. And, and the fact that we don't have this like reoffend is so strange to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely. Or somebody who, even a stool pigeon in a bar who says, I talked to a guy who happened to slip and say something about this and knows something, or somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who did this.
Precisely. We offered a pretty significant reward, and police often reduce sentences when somebody, talks about one of their criminal colleagues who did something. Nothing. Nobody stepped forward. Nothing.
It's unusual for someone to be this quiet this long.
Yeah,
it really is. It is such an unusual thing. It's such an unusual thing. You do a really good job in this book, Noir by Necessity, of explaining to people, even in the position of power that you were in for most of this time, of not using your position to push your agenda, which I commend you for. Because there's times where you could have went to the mayor and said, put your weight on the police department, put your weight on investigators, put your weight wherever you can to help me solve this thing, help me get some movement in the community. But yet that entire time, you said, you know what, I'm going to let the system do what it has to do. Where did you find the resolve in yourself to say, I'm not going to abuse the system? What was it about?
Well, it came with a number of conversations. The first one was a conversation I had with police. The second one was a conversation I had with other family members of murder victims. I determined after those conversations that I was just going to be a caring, engaged son. I was not going to be Mike Gatto, the politician. I was going to be a thorn in the police's side if I needed to be, and I was going to be somebody calling him and bugging him, but I was not going to use or abuse my power to try to get special treatment. The first one was early on. The police said we're offering a $50,000 reward or $75,000, and I said, in so many words, I'm translating here, but I'm chair of the appropriations committee. I've got $4 million in my political bank account. I can raise money very easily because powerful politicians can raise money very easily. I'll do like $1 million reward. And they're like, no. And I said, why? And they said, we can't send a message that your father's life was worth more than another life. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like, my impulse was do everything you can to solve your dad's case, right? Do everything. And I happen to be in office. I happen to be able to raise money. I can raise money. We can start a charity. Blah, blah. But then when they said that to me, I was like, woo, I understand that. And, literally a week after the case, I started meeting with and talking with other victims because, some of them would contact me, or I just run into people, or people I knew would say, oh, by the way, I lost my aunt or sister or something like that. And I realized, how many families are going through this and they don't have the benefits of proximity to power or a platform or anything like that. And I thought, I'd rather advocate for victims' families generally than just advocate for mine. So I was still a squeaky wheel, and I still communicated a lot with the police, but I never tried to look like I was abusing my power to try to get special treatment for my dad. Sometimes it was very, very hard. And sometimes the police thought I was doing it anyway, right? It was like I would see the mayor at an event and he'd be like, how's your dad's case going? Do you have any leads? And I'd answer honestly, yeah, it's not going that great. We don't have any leads. And then he'd be like, he'd probably get all flustered and, give stuff down the chain. But, at the same time, I couldn't lie, right? But I tried to walk a fine line, and it wasn't always easy.
I got to imagine it wasn't. Like you mentioned, you became an advocate then for victims' family, or for victims and their families, and you managed to become a voice for the voiceless.
I tried. I tried. I mean, people out there don't understand that the murder clearance rate, how many crimes are solved, has gone down in the era of DNA. It's gone down in the era of doorbell cameras. It's gone down in the era of everybody having a cell phone in their pocket which tracks their movements. And I think that's because we rely on technology a lot. But anyway, what I'm getting at is in big cities, we're lucky to have 50% of murder solved. And you think about that with DNA, with cell phones, with ubiquitous cameras, 50% of the people who kill another human being, who take a human life, get away with murder. And to me, that was just so mind-boggling. And I would talk with families. It wasn't just, my dad getting killed in the nice Silver Lake neighborhood. I would talk with families where their son got killed by a gang. And the mom would say, everybody knows who did this. Everybody in the neighborhood knows who did this. And yet I can't get the attention, or I can't get them to pay attention to these clues, or this or that, or it's going so slow. And, you have that situation repeating itself again and again. And that type of thing really, really bothered me, because when you lose a family member in that way, it's really hard for all obvious reasons, the grief, the what it does to you, what it does to your family, not being around for your grandkids, all those things. But then when you also have that something is unsolved, it always feels like there's this part of you that's questioning things and wondering what happened and wondering why. And then you feel this tremendous sense of injustice. It's just this tremendous sense of injustice. Somebody took away my dad, somebody took away my kid's grandfather, and so far there's no consequences. And that thing repeats itself with victims' families all the time.
A lot of what you're talking about there, Mike, has to do with the snitch mentality, right? I know who did that in my community, but I'm not going to snitch. I'm not going to be the one to turn them in. I'm not going to be the one to have the reputation in the community for being the one to turn them into the cops.
Yeah.
Why in 2026 do we have that snitch mentality in the community? Why does that still exist?
It's a good question. To me, it's, it's one thing to be that selfish and say, I don't want to get this rep and blah, blah, blah. And I understand there's a lot of pressure in some communities, but at the same time, on the other end, there's a family waiting for justice.
Yeah. A family that's hurt beyond recognition, that maybe is at the point of tearing itself apart because they're that hurt. And
absolutely,
you're sitting on information that they could desperately need.
Yeah.
And
I should stress that in my father's case, when everybody thought for all these years, or the primary public theory was that it was this guy who was breaking into cars that we talked about, he ran right by another woman in the community. The woman and the neighbor who were chasing him down this walk street, there was another woman walking right up who saw his face as clear as I can see yours. She has not stepped forward. Even we poo-pooed the theory, I want to stress that, but for 2-3 years, we were begging people. We said, this is the time of day, this is the composite sketch, this is the guy, this is the route he took. She has not stepped forward. To me, it's just crazy.
And why do you suppose she hasn't stepped forward? Is it fear of retribution? Strictly that?
I don't know. I think a lot of people just say they don't want to get involved. I mean, it wasn't for a shortage of media coverage, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Everything from the local paper that was thrown, for free on every house in that community, to the LA Times, to Dateline NBC has covered this case. And it was a very shocking murder in that neighborhood. And somebody who was walking on that street probably lived a few blocks away from my dad. So they know about the case. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't have stepped forward.
We're at a point now where, like we've mentioned, we're at 13 years now, and there have been switches in assignments when it comes to detectives. There's been a change at the police department as far as who's looking into the case, and there's been a little bit of a breath of fresh air. But still, we're at that point where you're trying different tactics. And again, read the book, folks, Noir By Necessity, in order to find out what those changes are. What do you think, or is there a piece here that we're missing that maybe we could enact in order to try and find out who killed your father?
It's hard to say. I mean, if you're asking what we as a society can do,
Sure.
I don't know if it's a question of resources. I often believe that it's a modern response to give more money to police departments and say, well, let's open a new DNA lab and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but I also think a cultural change within police departments, especially big city police departments, would help. I learned things personally by talking with the neighbors, by talking with my father's friends, by hiring a private detective to talk to the neighbors, to talk to my father's friends. Things that are absolutely relevant. I talk about one of them in the book. There was a lady who thought she heard a gunshot, like an hour and 45 minutes away from the time where the police think that the crime occurred, right? And like, that's a relevant piece of information. Things like that are just not done anymore. The old Sherlock Holmes, I mean, you almost like wonder, how did they solve crimes before DNA? We're so reliant on it. And the answer is they talked with the community. Somebody knew something, somebody had a wild idea, it triggered this. Somebody broke out into a cold sweat when they were interviewing them. Somebody said, gee, my neighbor is 25 years old and came home that night and took off and drove off and I never saw him again. I mean, that type of thing, I think, is the biggest cultural change that we could press upon big city police departments that would help solve more crimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. It seems like the more we get into technology, the lazier we get on doing the actual gumshoe work, right?
Precisely.
Yeah. And it seems like we need to go back to the old ways in order to really start doing some good work, putting feet on the ground. That's for sure.
For sure.
Mike, any thoughts in closing here as we start to wrap up today? Anything that you want to stress to maybe even victims that are going through the same thing that you've been going through?
Well, I wish I could tell victims that it gets markedly better. Grief fades over time. It does. It's like anything else. The initial shell shock does diminish. But for me, there's always going to be a hole. There's always going to be, I think about like what my dad would think if he had met my grandson. I think about how he would be guiding his granddaughters, how he would be guiding me. I just think about all the life he missed. And I just ask people out there to remember that when you're thinking about who you vote for, you're thinking about policies that you're going to advocate for. Just remember the families of crime victims. It's something where often, criminal justice is a pendulum. Sometimes we pay a lot of attention to the perpetrators and reforming the system for that. But just remember that there's a lot of families out there suffering, and please act accordingly. And if you know something about a crime, please step forward.
One last question for you before we go. Had Joe Gatto not been killed on that fateful night, where do you think you and he would be? And would you still be in the California legislature?
That's a good question. This was certainly something that contributed to me pressing pause on politics. Frankly, the biggest thing was my son being born. I was supposed to run statewide at the time, and my wife told me, between your dad's case, between, you having another child at home, maybe it's time to just press pause for the time being. My father would be very old, but he was very healthy. He would be 92 years old, or 91, turning 92. But I have no doubt if he wasn't murdered, he'd still be alive. He'd be probably seeing his grandkids every day. And, maybe he could persuade me to pick up a paintbrush, because for years and years and years, he tried to make an artist out of me, and I never quite got there. But when you have kids of your own, it's an entirely different circumstance. And maybe, just maybe, he could have persuaded me to pick up a paintbrush.
Maybe someday, huh?
Someday.
Mike Gatto, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. Noir by Necessity, How My Father's Unsolved Murder Took Me to Dark Places. Folks, I want to encourage you to go get the book. It's a good one. It is a sad story, but again, there's still some hope here, and there's still some hope that we can find whoever killed Joe Gatto. Mike, thanks so much for being with us today.
Tim, thank you so much.
Thank you. Folks, it's time now for us to lighten things up a little bit. It's time now for us to bring in Jessica Freeberg, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time again. Time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. And with that, I need to go host this. And so, I shall not go to lands afar. I shall not go to lands near. I shall go right locally. Wait, that would be lands near. So the logic doesn't make much sense here. But I know what I'm talking about, even if you don't. So I shall stretch my hands across the Twin Cities and welcome in a host that Binder from the Hindustan Times has called... Yes, his goddess, his deity. He has forsaken any other deity that you would look for in any other organized religion. He has said he has adopted Freiburgism. I said, Binder, what is this new religion? He goes, question not, Timothy, my worship of Freiburgism. For it involves one huge scroll of paper, one barrel of ink, one quill, and the ability to put together a chart that cannot be shattered. And I was like, oh, wow, that's very Bruce Lee, Be Like Water, which, by the way, as we record this, is the anniversary of his death. I don't know if you know this or not.
Aww.
But I was like, that's very Bruce Lee-like, Binder. And he was like, yeah, well, you know, you got to borrow principles from somewhere. And I was like, okay. But he said, but with this, you must realize that it takes something otherworldly to be able to put out 57 books at one time, Mr. Timothy. And I said, yes, you're right, Binder. And I said, maybe I'll join you. Maybe I'll be the second member of your Church of Freiburgism. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, the deity of her own church, Jessica Freeburg. Jess, how are you?
I'm good. I guess I'd rather be a deity in a church than Freiburgitis, which is like a highly contagious disease that gives you explosive diarrhea. Kind of like that parasite everyone's getting.
That's inflammation of the Freiburg. That's what Freiburgitis is. Inflammation of the Freiburg. That sounds like an old Carson joke.
Youch. Sounds terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, have you stayed away from Taco Bell?
Oh, gosh, we have. You know, it's so funny, though. Like, my daughter went to stay at her cousin's house, and when all of this was happening, and she texts me in a panic, Mom, they got us Taco Bell for dinner. I was like, well, don't eat it.
No.
And she's like, I don't want to be rude. I was like, it's okay. Be rude.
Yeah.
Don't eat it.
Yeah. Can't afford 3 weeks of the bloody shits. That's. Yeah. No.
But turns out it didn't have any lettuce on it, so it was fine. So she did eat it, and she seems okay. You know, I've heard of one person I know that might have it, so we'll see.
Yeah. Taco Bell did a pretty good job of self-censoring themselves.
Yeah, they took the lettuce off the menu.
Yeah, even if the government didn't, Taco Bell did. So, yeah, they did. I mean, the minute they found out there might be a potential issue with vegetables, all of them off the menu. So
hey, just give me meat and cheese anyways. I'm good.
Yeah, same here. I'm good with that. So.
You know, what's sad though is they were seeing on the news today now the positive they got from the Taylor's Farms lettuce that was at Taco Bell, the lettuce in question, was a false positive. And so now we're back to square one and we don't know where this is coming from.
And somebody made the joke. I don't remember who it was. It was a comedian over the weekend where they said, well, in order to make sure that you don't have this particular parasite on your fruits and vegetables, make sure you wash them for 5 to 6 minutes. And somebody said, I don't have 5 to 6 minutes. Well, then you're just gonna,
you're gonna get diarrhea. Yeah. I guess it'll go away eventually. You'll be fine.
That shows you where America's at. I don't have 5 to 6 minutes. Well, we hope you have at least 45 minutes for this because it's an exciting one today, Jess. Because again, America's lost its mind. That's the theme of today's show. As we're still in week 2 of Lewd, Crude, and Nude, that's going to be at least 2/3 of today's show. So without further ado,
it is hot out there, Tim. I don't blame him for getting nude.
It's the heat wave. I confess, Jess. There you go. That it is the heat wave. That's for sure. Let's start it off with I'll confess again. I've never heard of Andrew and Tristan Tate, but they were arrested in Miami. Evidently, there's something called social media influencers. They've never influenced me on social media to do one thing, but they were picked up.
That's good.
Yeah. From what I hear of them, they're not that great of human beings. But influencer brothers Andrew and Tristan Tate, whose social media empire promoted wealth, male dominance, and misogyny, it's probably why I've never heard of them, have made them among the world's most polarizing internet personalities, were arrested Saturday in Miami as British authorities sought their extradition on rape and sex trafficking charges. Normally we'd put this in the not safe for work, but it's kind of a big deal, so we put it at the top of the program. The brothers were taken into custody by the U.S. Marshal Service on a sealed warrant. Agency spokesperson Brady McCarran told the AP, placing the United States at the center of an international legal saga that has stretched from Romania to Britain. Now, the boys are from Romania.
Dang.
So, but they went from Romania to Britain to hello, custody in the U.S. Yeah.
Throw the book at them.
That's right. British prosecutors announced Saturday that they were seeking the brothers' extradition charges, alleging they raped and trafficked women between 2010 and 2017. So
wow.
They did that they did that for a while. That was on the old resume. The dual U.S. and British citizens moved to Romania in 2016. They were arrested there in 2022, accused of participating in schemes to lure women for sexual exploitation. They denied those allegations, and the Romanian cases hasn't gone forward because of legal and procedural problems. Last year, they were allowed to leave Romania and flew to Florida on a private jet. The brothers are expected to appear in Miami's federal courts early this week, according to a person familiar with the matter who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive law enforcement operations. By the way, the pending charges in the UK accuse the brothers of abusing women in an area north of London where they grew up. Their lawyers had said they denied the allegations. So there you go. That's a way to open Dumb Crime, Stupid Crime.
Yeah, that one's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Start with the dumbest of the dumb and work your way from there. That's what I say. We're going to start with we'll start with another dumbest of the dumb. We're going to Alabama. I'm not saying the state is dumb. I'm just saying that the woman that's there is pretty dumb. And the man who, there's a song by Tammy Wynette, Stand By Your Man.
Yes.
Maybe there should be another version of it, Stand By Your Woman. But This is for the entirely wrong reason. I'm going to introduce you to these two right here who evidently, I don't know if they're related, but there's got to be a different reason why they're standing by each other and why this man is standing by his woman. This Alabama woman right here tried to poison her man 4 times with fentanyl.
Why would she do such a terrible thing? He looks so nice.
Well, they both look like they're somewhat nice, if not dumbstruck people. I don't know.
I mean, sure, you look like someone you might see at church. Just a normal-looking couple.
Yeah, just a normal-looking couple. But a former Alabama prosecutor stands accused, she's a prosecutor, by the way, accused of repeatedly poisoning her husband with fentanyl and even allegedly attempting to drug him while she was out on bail for attempted murder. So she's not someone you'd see in church, Chess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you never know.
True. 75-year-old Sarah Baker, so yes, she's old enough to know better and still too young to care.
She's 75?
Yes, she is. Is also the sole caregiver of her husband since he had a stroke and allegedly spiked James Doyle Baker's food and drink on at least 3 occasions in September of 2025.
I have my glasses on, but she did not look 75. She's aging well for a
she's aging very
murderous woman. Yeah.
Well, it's the warm weather, I guess.
Murder keeps you young.
Yeah. Maybe they live out there on Muscle Shoals. It's a nice place to live.
The fountain of youth.
It's the fountain of youth.
Attempted murderer.
It is, yes. The more you try to murder your husband, the younger you look, I guess, is what it is. Baker was indicted on attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, domestic violence, elder abuse, soliciting, and distributing a controlled substance. She posted a $400,000 bond after pleading not guilty. It comes after a separate incident in which I can't tell you about this one yet. No. Oop,
Oh, is it naughty? We get to hear about it later?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is one of our it's one of our final stories today. I want to keep that one on.
All right, girl, you'll be back.
That's right. The suspect is also accused of violating the terms of her bond on Friday, July 17th, however, by continuing to visit her husband and possibly attempting to poison him again.
She's persistent.
Well, if you can't complete the job, go back and try again, I guess.
She's got her list of things to do. She just needs to check this one off.
That's right. Baker's husband has stood by his wife in court, saying during proceedings, "I have no idea why we're here today. We kept that clean all the way," he says. He also admits that he had pleaded with both Baker's attorney and the county district attorney to let him see his wife.
Oh, he doesn't understand what's happening.
I don't think he does. I don't think he's well.
Yeah.
Last year in November, Baker was arrested for allegedly asking multiple people to get her fentanyl in order to poison and kill her husband. Her arrest led to her being suspended from the Alabama Bar Association. Baker is alleged to have contacted one of her husband's caregivers on June 11th, asking for them to get her an empty medicine bottle from James's residence. Prosecutors then alleged she returned it to the caregiver with a black bag 8 days later, and they believed this contained the medicine bottle with instructions to place it in a safe inside her husband's home. After the caregiver put the bottle and the bag in the safe, they soon contacted law enforcement and reported it. Police said they later found 12 grams of purple-colored powder inside the safe after obtaining a search warrant. According to Zachary Latham, the lead investigator, the powder tested positive for fentanyl. The judge is alarmed in the case. Essentially, Judge Gregory Williams said that Baker had sought to get a weight of fentanyl you don't see very often into the home. So there was a lot there.
Yeah, she was really going for it.
Yeah. He also said the continued release of the defendant poses a risk to public safety, and no set of conditions will reasonably assure compliance with the court's orders regarding the defendant's bond. So he's not really wanting to let this defendant keep coming out of jail.
Yeah, she sounds dangerous, and I don't even know what naughty things she did in addition to this, but I can't wait to hear about it.
She's pled not guilty on all charges and cites mental disease or defect. Williams has since ordered that she get psychologically tested. So this isn't a thing where she's trying to put her husband down because he's ill, like a mercy killing.
Yeah.
This is literally just her saying, "I'm out of my mind."
Yeah, she's like, "I'm just crazy. I'm just straight up having a mental break."
Yeah. So,
So advice, get help before you start to try to kill people for your mental unwellness.
Take that step first rather than order the fentanyl and have it shipped in. Yeah. That's probably
step one, seek therapy.
That's right. Our next story comes from Tom, who sent this in, and I got to admit, Tom, I'll give you this one for originality. I've never heard of this one before. A Maryland man tries to rob a bank with a stolen kitten.
Wait, really?
I'll give it cuteness points. That's for sure.
Kittens can be vicious, though. Let me tell you, a cat bite can kill you. You can get in your bloodstream. They're very dirty.
Very slowly.
Yeah. I mean, we had a friend who their cat attacked him and he was in the hospital and he was getting lots of antibiotics and it was not curing him. They were very worried about him, all from a cat.
But let me quote the line from the movie. "But did you die?"
He did not.
Okay,
goodness.
there you go. If Hollywood ever was looking for a great bank heist comedy movie, boy, do we have a plot line for them. We open with a man wearing a black beanie, walking into a pet supply store, plus in Beltsville, Maryland.
Okay.
The cat burglar waits until no one's looking, then grabs the key and helps himself to a 3-month-old kitten named Magnolia.
Oh,
That's even a cute name.
I love it.
He'd been eyeing the kitten for the past couple of weeks, and they developed a bond. Oh, there's a bond between them.
He just wanted to have her.
Poor little Magnolia had no idea her new friend is a crazed bank robber, hoping to make her the Bonnie to his Clyde. So a little Bonnie and Clyde action going on here. Flash forward to an NBC report. Stephanie Stullich of Beltsville Community Cats Rescue was nearby when she got a call from a very alarmed store employee around 10:30 a.m. They said someone used the key hanging nearby to open the cat adoption area and take 3-month-old Magnolia. Stullich drove over immediately saw all of these police cars, and I thought, wow, that's a heck of a response for a stolen cat. But then I realized they all were going down to the bank. And this is where we find out our bank robbing genius's plan. Apparently, he went into the bank with the cat in his arms, and he walked up to a bank employee and said, "Can you hold this?" And then he wrote a note and handed it to a bank teller. And it said, essentially, "Give me all your cash."
Wow, so he's using it as like a distraction technique.
Yeah, just hold my kitty. And then, by the way, will you give me the kitty back and go get the cash? That's ingenious. That's right. He actually said, "Here's a kitten. Now give me all your money." It's original.
I mean, it would work on me. I'd be like, "Oh, okay.
All right, fine. That's the way you want to play it. Sure.
Cute cat." Yeah.
The man was taken into police custody shortly after this. The cat, however, got off easy because the cat's an accessory. Let's face it, Jess. The cat is an accessory. Now, I always used to point out to people cats are evil. And in this case, the evil cat robbed the bank.
I feel like it was more of like a Patty Hearst situation. I mean, she was a kidnap victim.
Was it, though? Because you just pointed out at the beginning of the story, cats can be dangerous. The cat could have swiped at the bank robber and got away.
Could have.
But developed a bond with the bank robber. You heard that in the beginning of the story. So went along willingly. This is what I would point out as a prosecutor.
Throw the book at the cat.
Throw the book at the cat. Cat's getting federal time. I'm going to get emails on that. Pet Supply Plus says Magnolia is still available for adoption, and she's hoping for a law-abiding citizen this time. But does that law-abiding citizen really want the cat? That's my question. I mean, do you really?
Or is she really looking for adventure? Maybe she wants a life of crime. I think she was like communicating with her mind, maybe letting him know.
Maybe there's a nice mafia family looking for a cat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. It says here in the article, personally, I'd be careful adopting this one. I don't blame you. For all we know, Magnolia was the mastermind of the whole thing and could have been. Maybe she's an extremely smart 3-month-old. All right, with that, we'll move on. Speaking of crafty females, it's time now for Not Safe for Work. Already. That's how quickly we're jumping in today, Jess.
Wow.
If your kids have been listening and went, "Oh, a cute kitty robbed a bank," it's time now to put those kids away, put them to bed, or put them out to play, or whatever it is you do with them during this segment. And if your boss is listening, put them to bed or put them out to play, or whatever it is you do with your boss during this segment. We're going to get into it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Let me show you this woman right here. We're going to St. Petersburg, Florida. She looks like she's innocent enough, doesn't she? She looks a little out of it. She looks like she needs a nap, right?
She looks very beautiful. Honestly, yeah. She's very pretty.
Yeah, yes, very much. She didn't have a very good day. Let me tell you what. Cops in St. Petersburg, Florida pulled over her vehicle, and they say that this woman had drugs hidden everywhere, all at once. Everywhere.
Oh.
Somebody got to do the search.
It makes me think she has them in some pretty bad places.
Well, let me tell you, Jess, exactly where they were. Don't mind if I do. Let me give you the inventory list, shall I?
All right, let's go.
A woman was arrested for drug trafficking and had fentanyl stashed in her buttocks, vagina, and right breast area when the car she was traveling was pulled over during a recent late-night traffic stop.
Huh. It's hitting all the spots, all the erroneous zones.
All the erroneous zones. Let's just say cops really had to search. I mean, they really had to get in there. Don't you feel sorry for the female cop that was like, "God, really? You're going to make me work for this?"
Yeah. I mean, I always feel bad when they have to say bend over and search the cavity and find something they have to pull out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of makes that cupcake wine search pretty simple, doesn't it?
I mean, I think it'd be pretty easy to just pop that right out. A bag of drugs you might have to go searching for it a little bit more, digging in there.
Got to give it the old fish hook. I know that was too much. I'm sorry, folks. But we are in not safe for work territory. Cops in St. Petersburg, Florida, pulled over the vehicle Saturday for a window tint violation. And boy, did they get more than they were hoping for.
They were not expecting what they got.
And subsequently busted driver 46-year-old Curtel McRae on a resisting charge after police directed passenger Okay, she's got... I have to search in my names book for this.
Okay.
Because it's spelled Yoneshe. So I know it's not Yaneshi. It may be Yaneshi Smith.
Yaneshi, I would think, yeah.
Or it could be Yaneshe. It may be Yaneshe. It's probably Yaneshe.
That's prettier. I kind of like that better.
We'll say it's Yaneshe Smith, who's 26 years old. See, most of us
Yaneshe was such a simple last name.
But that's the first name. Smith is her last name.
Yeah, if Smith is such a simple last name, then she's got this really funky, fancy first name.
Yeah. Some people would say Yaneshi, but it's Yaneshe. I know it's Yaneshe. It's got to be Yaneshe. Yeah, I'll bet you $5 on that deal. They told Yaneshe to step out of the car. They spotted plastic baggies containing a white rock-like substance near the passenger seat and on the ground where Smith had exited. Referring to the drugs on the passenger side, McRae spontaneously declared she needs to take responsibility for her stuff. Oh, see? She was hiding that work for him, and he wouldn't take responsibility. He put it on her, so she'd go up.
Yeah.
See? Just like a man. While being escorted to a police van, a baggie with a rock-like substance dropped from Smith's person. According to an arrest report, Smith reportedly admitted that the baggie fell from her buttocks area.
Wait, does she not have pants on? I'm very confused.
I'll let you speculate on that.
Okay, because if I had drugs up my yin yang or Yahoo or wherever, the underpants would stop them from hitting the ground.
Maybe she's a little free action Jackson, if you know what I mean.
She's free balling or whatever you call it when it's a girl.
That's right. Whatever you call it when it's a girl. As Smith was being booked into custody, corrections officers covered a baggie containing numerous multicolored pills from the defendant's vaginal cavity. There's more fun where we found other things, right? There's a surprise in every box, so to speak. You know what I mean?
She's just full of surprises, Tim.
That's right. That's what they used to say. That's what they used to say in the old cereal ads. There's a surprise in every box, Jess. Yeah. Finally, an additional bag of drugs was retrieved from Smith's right breast area. The confiscated items tested positive for the synthetic opioid fentanyl. The stash resulted in Smith's jailing on a pair of felony counts, drug trafficking and possession of a controlled substance in a detention facility. She's also facing a probation violation charge since at the time of her July 11th caller, Smith had just begun serving a 2-year probation sentence in connection with her conviction earlier this year for grand theft and dealing in stolen property. So there you go. If you think that was bad, I think I may have found my dream date.
Ooh.
Yep. Let me introduce you to this woman right here. This is her mugshot. Oh, sure. She's not all that on looks, but I'll tell you why she may be my dream date. Because
does she have a great personality?
Oh, yes, she does. You'll never get bored on a date with her, Jess. Let me tell you why. We're going to Mississippi on this one. Sure, you may say Mississippi's a little bit of a sleepier state, but she makes it exciting, my new dream date. I can't even speak. I'm so enamored. Here's what she did. By the way, Caitlin Maxwell is her name. Oh, sure, she's a little young for me. She's 22 years old, Jess.
Aww.
But she owns
Cradle Robin.
Yeah, I am Cradle Robin. But she owns a 2017 Dodge Challenger. Shall I tell you what she did with that?
Yes, please. What'd she do?
Well, first, she got completely naked, and then she was driving erratically in a car containing marijuana and illegally modified firearms. So I'm thinking complete night.
I mean, she's a party.
And a half. Then she was pulled over late Sunday evening by police. So
naked as a jaybird.
Oh, you gotta love it though, right? She's a party girl. She's got a little smizzle on her, she's smoking up. And she's got guns. So, I mean, the night could go anywhere.
What a combo.
Could just go anywhere. During the traffic stop in the town of Ellisville, population 4,652, police discovered that 22-year-old Caitlin Maxwell was unencumbered by any clothing. That's my girl, right? Just stripped down naked as the Lady Godiva driving that Dodge Challenger, boy.
Oh, just letting the breeze blow in the windows.
Yep. Maxwell, who was alone, because I wasn't with her, in the 2017 Dodge Challenger, who reeked of pot, appeared to be under the influence. Well, that just means...
Imagine.
Yeah, she was out having a good time. A search of her vehicle turned up a Glock handgun at Maxwell's feet and another Glock wedged between the passenger seat and the center console. Well, in all fairness, she steers with her knees and she fires with both hands. So, in case she gets in trouble, right?
She saw that in a movie once.
Right. Now, here's the kind of party girl my girl Caitlin really is. In the trunk, cops found a third Glock and 2 AR-15 rifles.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, in case shit pops off, you gotta have extra firepower in the trunk.
I wonder what she's planning for. Like, what went through her mind as she packed her vehicle that morning?
Armageddon. Yeah. Yeah. One of those appears to have been outfitted with a switch to make it fully automatic. So, in case shit really pops off.
Wow.
Yeah, girl. Maxwell was arrested on an assortment of felony and misdemeanor counts for which she is locked up in the Jones County Jail in lieu of $35,000 bond, Jess. So evidently, naked, little smizzle, loaded for bear everywhere in the car, only gets you $35,000 in Mississippi.
I'm going to say that doesn't seem like enough.
No. During police questioning, Maxwell said that her boyfriend, that's the deal killer with us. Yeah.
Lucky guy.
Yeah. 24-year-old Sean Cooley used a 3D printer to make those switches. So that's probably why she's with him. Yeah.
Oh, he's pretty fun too.
Yeah, he's a fun guy. Subsequent search of Cooley's residence resulted in his arrest for possession of machine gun conversion devices and the seizure of a small arsenal. By the way, this is the small arsenal they found at Sean's residence.
Oh, my. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I hope these two get married and have lots and lots of kids. They should just repopulate the earth.
They have a small militia. Yeah, small gang.
We need more of their DNA in the world, I think.
That's right. Records do not indicate why Maxwell was, as one cop remarked, traveling buck naked at 9:40 p.m. in the evening.
That's a head scratcher.
That is, isn't it? She just Lady Godiving it down in the population of 4,600, this little town. Well, we escalate. We just continue to escalate and escalate and escalate in today's program, Jess. That's how we do it here on the program, on the big show.
That's why I keep coming back, Tim.
That's right. I gotta have something for you, Jess. That's right. We go from dumb crime, stupid criminals to dumb crime, stupid cops.
Well, every now and then we do have those.
That's right. This one takes place in Florida. We're going to Howey in the Hills, Florida, which is a great town name. I don't care who you are. Where the former Howey in the Hills police chief is accused of sexual misconduct, which may not seem unusual, but it's with a suspect's wife.
Ooh, can't do that.
Yeah, we're leveling up here. We're getting good. Investigators said Giddens first contacted the woman in March of 2025 while investigating her husband. Sometimes you're going through an investigation, you need a small break, maybe you need to blow off some steam. Hey, there's the suspect's wife. Would you like to take a small break with me?
I mean, I guess it's easier than using a dating app. I mean, it's
Yeah.
more convenient.
Yeah, we have stuff in common. I'm pursuing your husband in a crime. You've seen your husband commit a crime. Let's go bone. I mean, you know
We are bonded. We're trauma bonded.
that's right. You came up with the right criteria here. Trauma bonding, right? Or trauma boning, depending on trauma boning.
That's a new one, Tim.
Yeah. We go to Howey in the Hills, Florida, where an internal investigation report released by Howey in the Hills town officials provides new details about the circumstances leading to the resignation of Howey Police Chief Michael Giddens. Giddens resigned on June 3rd under investigation following allegations that he had sexual encounters while on duty with the wife of a man his department was investigating for a felony crime. The nearly 80-page report states that the investigation began after a complaint was filed with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in November of 2025. According to the report, a Pasco County corrections officer told PDLE his girlfriend had been inappropriately involved with Giddens in the past. Investigators said Giddens first contacted the woman in March of 2025 while investigating her husband in connection with a complaint alleging contractor fraud. The report alleges Giddens and the woman exchanged text messages before meeting at a hotel where they had sex while Giddens was on duty, allegedly conducting surveillance on her home. Interesting,
wow.
Interesting tactic. I'm watching your home right now. Want to meet up at the hotel? Records included in the report indicate a second encounter occurred on May 30th of 2025. Investigators said the two met at a Chili's restaurant before going to the same hotel for another sexual encounter. So he wanted his baby bareback with them ribs. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, a girl can't resist a guy who takes her to Chili's, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, a little too many margaritas. The report states that the hotel records and the woman's statements corroborated the meetings. The woman told investigators both encounters were consensual and that she never felt harassed or forced by Giddens. She loves a man in uniform. The investigation concluded that no crimes had been committed. Giddens was placed on administrative leave in May of 2026 after an anonymous tip to the town led to an internal investigation by the Lake County Sheriff's Office. He resigned before the investigation was completed, saying in a statement that he was stepping down to protect the integrity of the police department and would not allow his personal life to interfere with his job. So by God, he'll bone Khan's wives left and right as a civilian. He just won't do it as a cop.
And it might be harder for him to meet girls now, though.
Well, yeah, he doesn't. Well, he can play dress up as a cop all he wants now. He just doesn't have a badge. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a crime. You can't do that.
Yeah, true. He joined the Howey in the Hills Police Department as a lieutenant before being promoted to police chief in October 2025. So he was promoted quite quickly. All right. Again, we just keep elevating and elevating and elevating, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy really elevated himself. A spearman, in other words, a guy using a spear,
Okay.
is busted for exposing his spear, man. This kid, and I'll say kid because he's 20 years old. There he is.
All right.
Basically, let it all out, so to speak. The aptly named Landon Spearman, who's 20 years old, was repeatedly hectoring a woman for photos of her feet.
Oh.
You asked before if there was money to be made by selling photos of your feet, Jess. Evidently there is, but it comes with a price.
Just ask us. Tim and I are game.
That's right. Although I don't want this guy on my doorstep.
No.
Especially
just from a distance.
Especially flogging his dolphin. I don't want that. No. We go to Florida. Yes, he is a Florida man, Landon Spearman. He allegedly exposed himself and then followed the victim around a Lowe's store before fleeing.
Nowhere is safe if you can't go to Lowe's without having someone show you their pee-pee.
Maybe he was following her around trying to get her in better footwear because he was afraid she was going to get bunions.
That could be.
Could have been the case. 20-year-old Landon Spearman was arrested for indecent exposure in connection with a creepy incident on Tuesday at a business in Lady Lake, which is an Orlando suburb. As detailed in the arrest report, the victim told cops she was completing an Instacart delivery at Lowe's. Oh, no wonder she's selling feet pics. She's working at Instacart. We figured it out now.
Hey, girl has to make money, Tim.
That's right. She was completing an Instacart delivery at Lowe's when an unknown man approached her and repeatedly requested photographs of her feet.
So weird.
Yeah. After declining the man's request, she accepted his phone number in an effort to end the encounter and continue working. Yeah. Just give me your number and get lost, right? Does that ever work?
No, I would not entertain anything this person was doing if I wanted them to get away from me.
As she walked away, a man later identified as Spearman called out to her. When the victim turned around, Spearman intentionally exposed his flaccid penis and declared, "Call me for some dick."
Wow.
Now, I know that one doesn't work. Or does it?
It
I don't know.
It does not. I mean, not normally. I think he's in the wrong.
No, wait.
He's in the wrong place for that audience.
You said normally, unless he pulls out what? Something that looks like a boa constrictor? I mean, does
No,
that?
I just mean maybe if he was in a different place. Maybe there's an appropriate place for that pickup line to work, but I feel like Lowe's is definitely not it.
Lowe's is not the place. Where is the appropriate place to do that?
Like literally nowhere, but maybe it would work at like a bar, like a really skeezy bar. I don't know, where everyone's super drunk.
The male strip club, that's the place to do it? Okay. Well, see, he had the wrong place.
Exactly.
The victim said that Spearman then followed her into the Lowe's until she approached a group of customers, causing him to leave the area. During a subsequent police interview, Spearman reportedly made admissions that substantially corroborated the victim's account of the incident. Spearman was then arrested and then booked into the county jail, from which he was later released on how much bond, Jess?
I hope a lot.
It's Florida. Take one swing
Florida.
at this.
Okay, it has to be low then. Probably 5,000.
$1,000.
Stop it.
That's it.
Scary.
$1,000 to stalk you around Lowe's and flash your wiener.
Oh, that's so terrible.
Yeah. Spearman scheduled for an August 19th court appearance in the misdemeanor case.
Well, friends, if you want to flash your penis around, Florida's the place to go. No one really cares.
Florida is the place to go. We have 2 stories left today, and both of them are going to lay you out. I guarantee it.
Oh, no.
We're staying in Florida for this one. This isn't the first time I've reported on this phenomena. I thought at first this was a repeat story.
One of those. We've had a few of those lately.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Not the first time I've heard of this. I wonder why guys would even do this.
I say that a lot about men, but go ahead.
I'm going to show you a picture of this guy from the eyebrows down because I don't want to show you what he's guilty of, but this is the guy right here.
He looks like a muscle builder guy.
He is. He's a bodybuilder.
Okay.
He's in the Florida area. What do you think his crime was, Jess?
Don't make me guess. There's too many weird things that go on down there. Obviously, he did something naked, right?
Yes, he did have to get somewhat naked in order to do this. Yes.
Well, did he flash someone?
Mm-mm.
No?
No. He caused a disturbance. I'll tell you that much. I'll give you one more guess and we'll move on.
Okay, naked shoplifting.
No.
Okay.
But there's shop in the title.
Oh, okay.
This man's guilty of having vacuum cleaner sex. So Shop Vac, thank you for playing.
Dad, we have heard about people doing this. Why? Why, Tim? It's so weird.
This perp is 51 years old, so he could pay for it. But he consorted with an appliance outside his home. Yes, he sodomized a vacuum cleaner in public.
Okay, so that's the other part. Like, if you're going to be weird and you want to stick your winky in a vacuum cleaner,
That was so
do
cute,
it in
his
the
winky.
privacy of your own house.
Yeah, right? If you're ready for this, I'm going to tell you where exactly he did this, and this makes it even more special.
Oh, no.
Land of hopes and dreams, ladies and gentlemen. Florida man was found guilty of having sex with a vacuum cleaner outside his home in a gated resort community near Walt Disney World.
Oh, yuck.
51-year-old Kevin Westerhold entered a no contest plea to indecent exposure in connection with the incident earlier this year at the Windsor Hills Resort in Kissimmee. Following plea negotiations with prosecutors, Westerhold was sentenced July 13th to 12 months probation, fined $271. That was it. And ordered to undergo a psychosexual evaluation within the next month.
I can evaluate him for you right now. Dude's messed up.
A little bit. Westerhold was adjudicated guilty of the misdemeanor by Judge Una Palaya. Westerhold was originally charged with a felony, but that count was subsequently reduced when he was named in a misdemeanor criminal information. In an April court filing, Westerhold's lawyer reported that his client recently completed an inpatient treatment. I want to know where you go to inpatient treatment for fucking your vacuum. I don't know where you go to that. I don't think Hazelden offers that. According to police reports, a witness provided investigators with photos and videos showing Westerhold pleasuring himself with a vacuum in broad daylight. Another witness spotted Westerhold, who was naked from the waist down, consorting with the appliance outside a 4-bedroom property owned by a female relative. So he went to a relative's house to do this.
Oh, my goodness. That person had to be so embarrassed.
A detective provided this play-by-play, if you're ready for this.
Oh, God. I'm bracing myself.
He continued to penetrate the handheld section of the vacuum before using it to suction his testicles for further sexual gratification. The cop added that 2 witnesses advised that the suspect was obviously committing these acts for his sexual pleasure, as he visibly reacted to the stimulus as if he was becoming more engaged in the sexual acts.
Him. Idea of doing it. So when you tell me this to begin with, I'm like, okay, he's sticking it in the vacuum cleaner thing. I don't imagine it's on, but now I know it's on and it's actually sucking. I'd be so afraid.
Mm-hmm.
What if it just sucked your ball right up?
Oh, there's more.
Pull it back out.
There's more, Jess. In addition to the vacuum episode, cops say Westerhold engaged in another illicit act at a second vacation property. Neighbors told police that Westerhold was seen on multiple occasions walking around the property entirely nude, wearing socks only, or wearing just a tank top. He was Winnie the Poohing it. The witnesses gave, well, he was near Disney, I guess. Witnesses gave cops doorbell video footage that recorded Westerhold naked in a shared hallway and masturbating. So he has a little thing about public indecency. So,
get the man some help.
Yeah, that's why they want him to submit to counseling. So, by the way, Westerhold's a powerlifting champion and still competes at Masters events. That's where the masturbating comes from, evidently.
I was going to say, yeah. I feel there's a connection there.
He must think powerlifting is grabbing his own cock. So thank you very much, everybody. Good night. And finally, the story that I alluded to earlier is this one, Jess. If you think that one's fun, I got an even better one. Make sure you are clear of fluids before I read this headline. Are you ready?
Yes, I swallowed my water. Let's go.
All right. Jealous wife bites off husband's penis after sharpening teeth in guaranteed revenge plot.
Him. That was the... What?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to Russia. where a Russian wife reportedly bit off her husband's penis after sharpening her own teeth in what medics described as a guaranteed act of bloody revenge.
I don't even have a response to this story.
Well, let's get through it.
Insane.
Let's get through it, and I'll tell you the rest. A jealous wife attacked her husband by biting off his penis after deliberately sharpening her teeth in what medical experts called a guaranteed premeditated act of violent revenge. The disturbing incident allegedly occurred in Moscow, Russia, after the 39-year-old woman discovered a message on her 41-year-old husband's phone from another woman. Just a message.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a little vindictive.
Holy smokes.
The message detailed an erotic dream about having sex with him on a beach. Rather than confronting him directly, the wife reportedly carefully orchestrated her assault. It comes after we read about that incident, so I'll skip that part. Medical expert Dr. Artur Velvichev, who analyzed the case, revealed she had filed down her teeth to make them sharper. This was the beginning of the plot. Dr. Watson. She then deliberately modified her teeth to guarantee her plan would work. He then explained how she orchestrated a trap by preparing dinner for her husband before the couple drank alcohol together, so she got him nice and loose. His wife then cooked dinner. They sat down, drank, ate, drank some more, and then they went to bed, where she started to give him oral sex, setting him up for the big reveal. So
he's like, this is the best night ever, and then
that's right.
The worst.
Velvichev continues. At that moment, she bit off his penis with her teeth. Probably before climax, I'm guessing.
Ew.
Yeah. He said she then spat it out and told him, it's your own fault how you can't do it with anyone else.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The husband momentarily lost consciousness from the pain and hypovolemic shock. When he regained consciousness, he was bleeding profusely. Here's the miracle of the whole thing, Jess, and why he didn't bleed to death. This is the part that got me in the whole story. Okay? Mm-hmm. Velvichev said the men successfully preserved the severed organ in a glass with saline solution before calling emergency services. So he didn't bleed to death before he got on the phone.
Smart.
Medical personnel attempted reattachment, but Velvichev said they were unsuccessful in restoring any function. He hasn't been able to find a new partner yet, the doctor said, noting that he did leave the old lady, noting that the sole remaining option was a penile prosthesis, which is an internal penile prosthesis with a pump. He's permanently scarred.
She ruined him.
Yeah.
Tim, can you imagine biting down on something and ripping it off of someone's body? And I mean, like, the amount of effort and force you have to, like, think about just eating a piece of like steak that's kind of gristly. It'd be like 1,000 times more gristly than that if it was actually attached to someone.
The jaw power, the bite power had to be immense. And then the amount of sharpening you have to do with your teeth.
That is disgusting too. Think about filing your teeth and how, that just makes me cringe, the idea of filing my own teeth down.
Yeah. The husband, by the way, has consistently maintained his innocence regarding any infidelity due to Russian privacy regulations. The couple's identities have been withheld given the sensitive medical information and ongoing criminal proceedings. In July of 2026, the woman received a 5-year sentence in a Russian women's penal colony. That's funny.
No pun intended.
Right. For intentional grievous bodily harm. The husband is currently raising their 7-year-old child as a single parent. The woman is now experiencing severe tooth decay while imprisoned, which her estranged husband says is karma.
Well, that is the very least she deserves.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. We need our palate cleanser.
All right.
Our palate cleanser for today is a two-parter that you're going to find, I think, kind of funny. The first one is semi-serious, but kind of funny. I mean, it's the first one is about when you're way too lonely, here's the extremes you'll go to. And when you're way too lonely, here's what you can do to solve it. Okay. The first one, if we can get to it here, again, the iPad's a little old. It sometimes wants to agree with me and sometimes doesn't. The headline here is, I dreamt of a show where the audience becomes horny, the Swedish puppet play starring bonking Barbies.
Oh, I'm not sure I would go to that.
I can't imagine anybody would.
I mean, I got a bag of Barbies downstairs if you want to create it on your own.
The picture of this is just too funny.
Oh, gosh.
I can imagine some kid, like teenage kid, not even teenage kid, like preteen, like as a joke.
Yeah.
Playing with Barbies like this. Malmo Docteater is the name of this person, is adapting Jackie Collins' debut novel about the swinging 60s using anatomically enhanced dolls. Puppets help you explore sex in a different way, they say.
Oh, my.
Someone with too much time on their hands. We'll get to the gist of this story, which is this. Eric Holmstrom holds up a naked, headless Ken doll. Most of the figure, as you'd expect, lean muscles, smooth skin, but the lower down is something different. Between those hairless thighs is a small plastic penis nestled in a tuft of hair. So he's had enough time to add parts. You get the idea, right?
I get the idea.
So the director of this play is Malmo Docteater. That's puppet theater in Swedish. And then that's Holmstrom. Eric Holmstrom's the director.
Okay.
He's also the performer and puppeteer. Kasha Erickson jumps in. Not real pubic hair, she clarifies. By the way, they're all getting this play together called The World is Full of Married Men. It's an experimental puppet production that leaps fearlessly into the explicit sex scenes that got the novel banned in several countries when it was first published in 1968. After performances in Malmo and Stockholm, the company is bringing the show to the newly refurbished Yard Theatre in East London, where it will be performed in Swedish with English subtitles. This is what happens when you spend too much time in the basement.
Yeah. With dolls.
With dolls. Yeah. So our second story, Jess, is what happens when loneliness hits and it's just you and you really do need a friend. Okay? This one's a little more innocent. I swear. You can now rent someone to barbecue with if you're lonely.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Lonely barbecue lovers in Russia can now go online to rent people to share a beer and a joke with for a modest fee.
I would be down.
Yeah. If you ever feel like firing up the barbecue only to quickly realize that you have no one to share a cold beer with, well, that's no longer a problem, as you can now actually rent a total stranger as a barbecue mate for just $15 to $65 per day. You get them for a whole day.
Wow.
Yeah. The usual service has been gaining traction in Russia with dozens of ads identified on classified platforms, which is kind of cool, right? Mm-hmm. It'll help you organize barbecues and camping, keep you company, and grill some meat. Jokes and anecdotes are also included in that price. You get that as well, right? A certain Artem from Moscow writes in his ad. Depending on how eager they are to please and how much you're willing to spend for their services, barbecue companions can get the barbecue ready, grill the meat, pitch a tent, and keep you company. Some even offer to help find a suitable place for a barbecue and take care of all the groceries as long as you pay for the bill. Their fees range from 1,000 rubles or...
It doesn't seem like enough money.
It doesn't.
For all that work.
For all that, yeah, all that trouble. But in the end, you guys are hanging out and having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice.
Yeah. And there's an example of kind of the classified ad there. I mean, you get pictures of what they look like. So you can,
okay.
You know, or like, you know, so you can hang out, have a good time, right? Yeah. So that's it for today. That's encouraging, right? That you can find a friend after all. Have
You
a barbecue.
just got to pay for them.
Yeah, you just got to pay for them. You two can have a friend if you don't feel like you have one. You can have a barbecue. Maybe you could share some of these weird stories we read today. That's fun. So.
Oh.
All right. That's it here, Justin. You have plenty of stuff going on. You don't need friends. You have plenty of them out there. But
everyone needs friends.
That's true. You can.
I would say the one thing you guys could do if you're interested in anything I have going on is pre-order one of my new books.
That's right. We have a link in the description of this program. Yeah. And you also have a great class out there as well on your website, correct?
Yes, I do. Stop Shrinking. So if you're interested in checking that out, feel free to go to my website. You can also just sign up for my newsletter. I send out a newsletter every week with just some tips for being happy.
Yeah, absolutely. So check it out. We have the descriptions or the links in the description of this program. Go check out both the course and the links for the pre-sale for the books coming up August 11th. So that's that. Couple of reminders. One, if you're not listening to this program, watch it. The original Darkness Radio on YouTube or darknessradioshow.com. It's attached to the audio in the description of this program. Two, what's the second one? Oh, yeah, the Darkness Radio app. Make sure that you've got that and it's updated and ready to go on your Apple device. Three, swag. Go get swag at darknessradioshow.com. Support the show. All right. With that, tomorrow is Supernatural News with Mally Fox. And Thursday, we are talking about all sorts of paranormal phenomena with our guest, Dr. Kendall. Yes, I'm going to give you his name today. So, yes. So Dr. Kendall will be with us. And we've got his new book, which is out. So I'll give you more about him tomorrow. So that'll be Thursday's show. That'll do it for today. Folks, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to thank Mike Gatto for being with us today, and his book is out there as well. We'll have a link in the description for that. For Jessica Freeberg, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for continuing to watch and listen to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday.